Welcome to episode 38 of Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com. And we are recording now, today, here in the studio. And we are doing a little bit of brand crossover because with me today is the esteemed team of our Comic Book Now show, Mr. Brandon Davis and
Hello.
Mr. Chris Killian.
It is so good to be here.
And they are crossing over to this show to help us do a final unpack of the end of the X-Men saga, Dark Phoenix. But that's not all we got today. Today we're also going to be talking about things that are happening over on DC Universe, which is kind of a growing topic on this show. We're also going to be talking about the first Phase 4 rumors and plans for Marvel Cinematic Universe. And we're going to be talking about who's coming to Comic-Con, or rather, in this case, who's not coming to Comic-Con this year. So, a lot to get to. Let's get started. Let's jump right in. And we're going to start at the top with something that's kind of relevant to today, specifically when we're recording. DC Universe just launched a new show, Swamp Thing, which they have also just canceled after just one episode has aired.
Yeah.
So Swamp Thing has been canceled. It's only going to get 10 episodes of 10-episode first season, which was lower than the original 13, and it's not getting a season 2.
This is really, it's too bad. I've only seen the first episode, but I really enjoyed it. Like, I felt like it hit a perfect tone for what Swamp Thing needs to be. And the fact that they're canceling it, like, right out of the gate is just, well, I guess my DC app's going to get canceled, too.
Yeah, and
I mean, are you expecting the other shows to get renewed?
no, I am expecting, yes, I'm expecting, I know Titans has been renewed. I would expect Doom Patrol to be renewed.
Are we sure we're not just expecting the DC app to completely go belly up?
Well, now, yeah, I mean, this is what our discussion has been. Like, we've been discussing it. I mean, Brandon, you've been here for a couple of these discussions on the show, that we were all saying how worried we were about this DC universe because we saw the writing on the wall. We were like, these shows are good. I like Titans. I like Doom Patrol. Pound for pound, they've been putting out good original content. Titans was okay or pretty good for most people. Doom Patrol was really good. Young Justice Season 3 was highly acclaimed and has another half coming. Swamp Thing, people were enjoying the kind of horror mix of Swamp Thing, horror hero mix of Swamp Thing. And so it was doing good for a niche streaming service in terms of original content, pound for pound. But we were saying it was too limited. There wasn't enough buzz about these shows, and that was our worry, that they were going to get canceled because of that. Yeah. Swamp Thing seems to be a little bit different, a little bit more complicated of a situation because it kind of boils down to the biggest evidence for why this is getting canceled was a government error. North Carolina state, where the show was shot, has a kind of it has a rebate program basically for films. Like, you film in the area, you pay the production costs, and then they have X amount in the budget, million, to kind of give back to you to kind of help offset the cost of your production. So they thought they had a surplus left over about $60 million. It's supposed to be about $30 million annually that they can tap for this. They thought they had $60 million in the bank already, and they were like, "Oh, so we're not going to put in another $30 million when we already have 60. That's already more than we probably should have in holding just for whatever films or shows might film here." But it was a miscommunication from another department. They actually didn't have that money, and they needed to budget another $30 million for this year. They didn't do that, and it ended up being Warner Brothers Television who got screwed in that because they're not going to get their rebate. Swamp Thing was kind of expensive. The pilot alone was like $4.8 million or something like that to shoot, and so they spent all this money on season 1, and they weren't going to get that money back, and so it was going to be in the red. And so they tried to do it first by scaling back the episodes to just 10 instead of 13. But now, because of this, and it doesn't seem like they were going to get it worked out for the fiscal year next year, there's no reason for them to keep the production on hold, to keep all that stuff in North Carolina and do all that and try to cover the cost of that show if it's not going to be profitable. So they're just like, well, this show's not profitable anymore, and it's getting the axe. Which, I get it, but I personally would have maybe waited a little bit longer into the season to drop that reveal. Because
Warner Brothers didn't even drop it. Somebody who heard about this whole thing dropped it. So I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I agree. It's safer to at least not even have that conversation until later. But at the same time, like we're saying about this DC universe, I think that's what it comes down to. $4.8 million for one episode probably going to end up costing about $60 million for this season. Where are they making that money back?
Exactly.
Like, for just this show alone.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to pay for Titans. They have to pay for Doom Patrol. They have to pay for all the other. I mean, I don't have a DC Universe streaming subscription. Most people I know don't know it exists. So where are you making $60 million a year off of this, plus the cost of the other shows?
Yeah. And this has been the problem that we've been seeing. And we've just been asking the obvious question, how does this sustain itself? Because this doesn't seem sustainable. Well, now we're finding out that it might not be sustainable, because we also got a report on the heels of Swamp Thing being canceled that the whole DC Universe streaming app and structure is being, quote unquote, reevaluated.
As it should be.
Yeah, which is kind of like corporate speak for, we got to fix this ish. It is broken because, we can't.
They have to just be bleeding money from this.
Yeah,
From
exactly.
this whole entire attempt at a DC Universe streaming service. How do you? I don't know who thought this would be profitable, unless you're like launching movies on there with Henry Cavill and
that's
your
the thing
DC,
though that people keep
Jason
pointing
Momoa.
out. It's like this streaming service is probably one of the weirdest, like, middle children of streaming services I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, they have good original content, but the other stuff is kind of janky. Like, people often forget they can read comics on it, which was supposed to be one of the features. They don't necessarily put the best comics on it. They don't put any of the Arrowverse stuff, which would draw in a much bigger crowd.
Sure.
They don't put in any of the recent DCEU movies. It's all like stuff from the 90s or early 2000s or the animated movies. And it's like, you've basically taken your second tier content,
Right.
dumped it on this service, want people to pay for it, and a couple of these, and one original show at a time.
Well, and also the original shows I think are very directed to a specific audience. You know, I got a little kid, right? And he wants to. He loves the DC Universe app, but he can't watch Titans. He can't watch Doom Patrol.
Yeah,
You know.
no.
So, especially not Doom Patrol.
no.
So it's like, I think that if they would have directed content maybe to a little bit of a younger crowd at the same time, or produce some content for that, you could be hitting it in all angles.
Is this another case of Warner Brothers being behind Marvel on this stuff and seeing how the Netflix shows with Marvel worked, and they were all R-rated, and they were like, oh, well, we should do our own. And they thought maybe that was the key? Because the difference is that Netflix already had the subscribers.
Yeah. And
They
I
didn't
feel
have to
like,
build a platform with it.
Right.
yeah, and I feel like that's what it was. I mean, I don't know for sure. I'm not part of this, but like, it does seem like a half-cocked idea. Like, it seems simple to be like, well, let's just do it and make sure the money comes back to us on our service. Screw Netflix and licensing fees. Mm-hmm. But it's like, how do you build that? You got to build that subscriber base. And people forget, as this has been coming out in the conversation about this, Netflix had to grind for a long time. And they were in the red for a long time on the idea of getting to this future that they could see. They started in like late 90s.
But people forget about the whole DVD in the mail thing that it was for a long time.
People forget about that in the early 2000s, but they began in the late 90s doing this. So like before you and I don't even remember Netflix in the late 90s, but I definitely remember coming out of college. I graduated 2003. And so like 2002 was about the time, like we were just getting to our apartment, our first DVD shipped to us, which we thought was super futuristic, you know, like, and then you just got to tear it off, put it back in that little slot, ship it back. And it was like all easy. Right. So like, Netflix had to grind.
What's mail?
I don't know anymore. That
what is
whole
an
concept
envelope?
seems so absurd now. Right. Like, and then I remember the big debate about, are we going full streaming or not? Like in the late
Everybody
2000s,
thought they were
and then,
dumb
like,
when they said there's two separate charges. There's a charge for your mail service and there's a charge for your streaming service. And everybody, I remember when they launched the streaming service as a separate subscription fee, and like their stock tanked, and everybody was like, "This is the worst thing ever. That Netflix is going to go out of business." I remember, and everybody was wrong.
Yeah.
Streaming service was the future.
Yeah, and I mean, and they got the rewards for that dedication.
That was a risk.
Yeah, but you can't be DC Universe. You just can't come off the block.
No,
and
you
just
have
be like,
you have to be able to reach more people.
be like, it's DC.
If you're gonna spend $60 million on a single series, you have to be able to. Granted, that wasn't their plan,
No,
but
no.
if you're gonna put that kind of money up, you have to reach more. No, you're gonna reach more people. Like, where is this even being marketed?
That's
People
a good,
don't know about this.
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, I don't know where. I don't even remember seeing. Like, I don't see
People
ads for this
learned
stuff.
that Swamp Thing existed by learning that Swamp Thing was canceled. Like, where is the marketing for this?
I think the Save Swamp Thing hashtag is bigger than the. I think I made the joke yesterday. I was like, "Wow, look at all these people in the Save Swamp Thing hashtag." I was like,
Outside of
"That's
Comic-Con,
double the actual people who actually
where
watched
is?
it."
I've never seen anything for it outside of San Diego Comic-Con.
No, there's not like things on TV. Not even on like.
I don't know
as somebody who
things for
watches
Titans.
a lot of
I don't
late night
know.
Comedy Central. Like,
Yeah.
there's not even stuff there.
How are people supposed to know that Titans is on? How are people? If I went out anywhere, I could go to Starbucks. I could go to the gym. I could probably go to the library. Anywhere, and I could be like, "Hey, you ever heard of the show Doom Patrol on DC Universe?" I truly believe 9 out of 10 people are going to tell
They're
me.
going to be like, "Sir,
They've
I don't
never
know what you're
both.
talking about. Please stand away from me."
Now,
Yeah, exactly.
Nick, our editor, had a great idea about it, which it's total conspiracy theory, and I highly doubt that it's true. But he actually threw out the idea that, like, what if Warner Brothers is kind of got this idea that if they cancel it right away, because we've got, like, they're getting on this petition bandwagon, and we can kind of see what angry fans do, and maybe we can get
Yeah, I've
another
heard that.
financial
that has
backer.
that's been growing. I mean, and that's not crazy because it's been reported that HBO and I think the CW.
So this was all a plot to get a remake of season 7 and 8 of Game of Thrones.
So,
what you're
like, no, but HBO and the CW have reportedly taken looks at Swamp Thing and considered it. So it's not too crazy.
But aren't those Warner Brothers entities?
Yeah, yeah. And so, like,
So, I mean, in that sense, the conspiracy theory maybe holds a little weight.
yeah. I mean, and there is something else going towards this because there's been announcements about the Warner streaming service that is going to come. And that's already looking like a more attractive package. They're going to have all these Warner Brothers movies, and they're throwing in HBO and Cinemax. And if you were to just then take DC Universe and fold it, dump the comics crap that people aren't using, and take the original content and put it into the Warner streaming service, then you have a much stronger
Here's the
platform.
thing. They should have done that before Game of Thrones ended.
Yeah. Oh,
They
agreed.
should have done that before Game
Oh,
because
agreed.
there is no title or franchise within Warner Brothers right now outside of the upcoming DC films that I can think of that would draw that mainstream massive conversation to raise awareness for this. Now that Game of Thrones is done, they don't have one right now. They have the DC, they have Birds of Prey and Wonder Woman and all that coming up, but those are going to go to theaters first and all that. What does HBO have?
Chernobyl 2, Moscow Heat.
But like Warner Brothers just doesn't have one right now.
But
No.
you don't think that just having access to the
Do a Harry
entire
Potter.
Warner Brothers library?
I don't think it's enough because people are going to subscribe to Disney Plus, and I think people already have Hulu subscriptions and Netflix subscriptions, and I don't like. There are people who will, but
Yeah.
I don't think Warner Brothers has enough of an exciting catalog to even draw people attention away from those other ones.
I mean, it might be something to get to when that Game of Thrones prequel series launches. I mean, that's like that's the best window I can think of off the top of my
You'd
head.
have to launch like a Harry Potter series on your service or something like that. Something of that.
Yeah.
Those are the juggernaut franchises: Batman, Harry Potter, Game
Yeah.
of Thrones. I don't know, do a Sopranos spinoff or something,
Yeah, I
which
mean,
they are.
yeah,
But you have to reach different demographics to pay for this stuff and let people know it exists.
Yeah. So, all right, Swamp Thing. We hardly
RIP.
knew ye. I'm going to finish season 1 because I did enjoy the first episode.
Tell you what, I'm not even going to start it because it's canceled.
I mean, that's a lot, and that's the reality for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's the problem.
So there it is. All right, moving right along. Let's talk other good Warner Brothers stuff. Warner Brothers is skipping Hall H this year at Comic-Con.
Oh my God, Warner Brothers, what are you doing?
I'm sorry,
And
Brandon.
kind of this feeds in to, let's just take these next two together, I think, because I think they're kind of related. So Warner Brothers is skipping Hall H this year, and that's kind of significant because Comic-Con is built around two major events, which is like the Saturday night Marvel stuff and the Saturday
Saturday
morning
DC.
Warner Brothers, specifically and usually the DC stuff that they unveil. And so skipping this year is kind of riling some people the wrong way because it's not just that they're skipping, but they also made the bad PR move of picking the year where they have a couple female-led franchises to kind of present. Wonder Woman 1984, Birds of Prey that DC could be putting forward. And they're like, well, it's the girl movies. we're taking this year off, and it's just like that's
don't
not
think that's why they made
I
the
know
decision.
that's not, but of course the internet is the internet, and the Twitter justice system is the Twitter justice system, and so people are freaking out about that. But
I'll tell you why they're not
in
going, 'cause
general,
there's
whatever.
no way they were ever getting Joaquin Phoenix on Hall H's stage, and you can't go to Comic-Con and promote DC movies without talking about Joker, and Joaquin Phoenix was never going to go.
You think this boils down to one man?
I think that's a big part of it. I know that they were trying to talk about it and figure out how they're going to get Joaquin Phoenix there a few months ago. I don't know what happened since then, but I can only imagine he said no.
You don't think, though, that if they could have got maybe like a Robert Pattinson or somebody there, that could have covered for Joaquin Phoenix?
I mean, yeah, but I think that's a problem. You have Joker coming out before any other DC movie.
Yeah.
You're not going to acknowledge it at Comic-Con during your presentation? That's tough. I'm sure there's other factors, but that's got to be one.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a big one. That is a big one. I wonder, like, this is kind of freaky because it kind of signals the end of an era for what Comic-Con was, like how we all kind of have come up with it about, these big major DC Marvel, events at Hall H. Now DC's not coming this year, and our next story was going to be talking about Marvel is going to announce its Phase 4 plans at D23.
Are they? I mean, they have. What are they going to announce at Comic-Con then?
That's the question. Like, that's where we're at now. Like,
Are the Phase 4 plans, like, confirmed for D23?
yeah, I'm pretty sure. Comicbook.com says Marvel Studios Phase 4 plans to be revealed at D23. Yeah, D23 has put out a schedule already. Like, they're
Well,
gonna be
yeah,
doing
but Marvel will
stuff.
be there. But D23 has its live action presentation, which is 2 hours, and in those 2 hours, it's all of Disney. So you're going to have movies like Cinderella and Maleficent and The Lion King and all the other Disney movies, and then you're going to have Star Wars, and then you're going to have the Disney Plus live action shows and the animated shows and everything, and Marvel, all in 2 hours. So I'm sure Marvel will be there and have a presence.
Yeah.
I could see them doing a Phase 4 slate at Comic-Con and a Disney Plus heavy presentation at D23.
I think
I mean,
I think it's up in the air because I think this year is a little different because they're launching Disney Plus.
Sure.
And they may want to pull all their big guns together in a Disney-focused arena because that is their real agenda in all this right now, is getting that streaming service up and making sure it becomes a Netflix competitor.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of trepidatious about what they're actually going to do at Comic-Con. And that's what we're talking about here.
But I just don't think there's any way they can disappoint people at Comic-Con.
No, but Marvel finds clever ways to kind of
exactly.
get around it, even if they don't do like a full balls to the wall Hall H presentation. There's clever little things they can do, set up displays, reveals, stuff.
They were there
like
this
that.
past year, and what did they brought out? Or were they there this past year?
You were there, I wasn't.
2 years
Yeah,
ago.
I remember
They brought out Captain Marvel. They announced Samuel L. Jackson would be in Captain Marvel. I don't think they announced any new movies. They didn't announce any new movies because Phase 3 was already all in play. I think the biggest announcement was that Samuel L. Jackson was in Captain Marvel, and it was set in the 90s. And it wasn't disappointing.
No.
I mean, but they're going to do a 1 hour, 2 hour. I'm sure they have to talk about the Black Widow movie.
Yeah.
They're shooting it, so they have to talk about it. I'm sure they'll show something.
Yeah, I mean, that's because that's a safe one. We
Yeah.
already know Scarlett. She's already a pro at this. Like, they can shoot a sizzle reel or something like that.
I don't know. I think Marvel's going to blow the roof off at Comic-Con. I think they're going to have some big stuff.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I'm not hating because I want that to happen.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, yeah.
like,
Otherwise, this Comic-Con's going to
Exactly.
blow.
That's my whole point. Like, if they don't, and Warner Brothers isn't there, like, this is going to be.
But also, think about this.
Weird
Just
Comic-Con.
because Warner Brothers isn't in Hall H doesn't mean they're not going to have some good reveals on the floor.
No,
you
absolutely
can count on some
not.
costumes. You can still count on, because Warner Brothers releases also consider this, how expensive it is.
Oh, I know.
To go to Comic-Con, to bring all these celebrities to Comic-Con just to show a trailer to Hall H. The one studio that always releases their trailers online simultaneously to showing them in Hall H is Warner Brothers.
Yep.
Just release the trailer online on Saturday. You'll still win, and you'll save
that-
millions of dollars.
And that
probably.
brings us right back to our conversation in one of the last episodes we had. You and I, like, we were talking about this and we were theorizing about the Batman. And we said, like, yeah, Matt Reeves could just wake up the morning of Saturday morning at Hall H and just be like, send, and just be like, yeah, here's Robert Pattinson.
here's
in
the
bat
tweet.
suit. Yeah, like,
I don't think-
Happy
I don't
Comic-Con. Sorry,
think,
we're not at Hall H.
I don't think they'll reveal. I don't think Warner Brothers will reveal any Batman stuff the week of Comic-Con. I think that would be a bad move, not being there and just dropping something because it'll get buried. If you release Robert Pattinson,
I don't know that it would get buried.
Yeah, I
at
think you
this
might
point.
bury some of Comic-Con. Like,
Yeah.
But if you release Robert Pattinson Batman Saturday morning and then Saturday night Marvel's like, yo, Phase 4. I mean,
I still feel like there's so much interest in this Batman. I mean, people have been
it's not
talking
like
about it
people are
for
gonna-
2 years.
It's not like people are going to not see the Batman photo or whatever, but I think there's other, like, if they were to release it right now, this is the slowest news cycle of the year, June. You'll be talked about for the next 3 weeks. Everybody will be writing lists about the best parts of the Batman costume: shoulder pads, knee pads, shin
I
guards.
love how you are building up to your career in PR, studio PR. You're doing a good job here.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
I'm trying.
But yeah, so
I won't be
the whole
forever.
point of this is if somebody doesn't start bringing something, it's going to be a weird Comic-Con. But Warner Brothers, I mean, along with this announcement that they weren't coming to Hall H, we did get one kick-ass Wonder Woman poster. So
Yeah.
Oh, wait till you see more of that costume.
Oh man, don't tease me.
Wait till you see more.
Don't tease me.
I'm telling
I
you.
got so many things that I want to say. And I'm not
Don't
gonna say
you
it.
tease me.
Don't do it. But there's more to see, and you're gonna. It's cool.
Dude, I love Wonder Woman. I mean, yeah. So I'm excited for
Yeah,
that.
she's the best.
All right. So moving along to the last thing, we got a whole bunch of supposed leaks, quote unquote, from the Marvel Phase 4 lineup. Some interesting things. Now, our own Charlie Ridgely is in the process of tracking this all down and kind of debunking a lot of this because it was attributed to a Marvel scooper who never scooped it. It just the internet got this. It was one of those echo chamber things on the internet where one person messed up the source and then like 50 other people just ran with it. But it's not too crazy about some of the things we're hearing in this. I mean, that's the reason I'm not like totally against it about talking about this on the podcast. Some things are just like the Black Widow movie that they'll have the character of Yelena Bova, the other Black Widow that tries to replace, Natasha Romanoff at one point in the comics. That was kind of a safe bet that we would probably see that in a Black Widow movie as a storyline. The Eternals, we're hearing just confirmations of who some of the cast, like Richard Madden and Camille Nanjiani.
This same list said that
Gianni
Black
and
Panther
Angelina.
2 is filming in Australia in the fall. When I can confirm, without a shadow of a doubt, I know for fact Shang-Chi is filming in Australia.
Yeah, that was kind of question. That was kind of a
So-
shady one. Yeah, that production schedule.
I know
timeline was-
100% certainty that's true.
Yeah. Shang-Chi, we heard a little bit about. Black Panther 2, that Killmonger, which has been a recurring rumor, will be returning. But, I mean, that's not like a huge thing because it's in a spirit realm. It's supposedly in a spirit realm scene, which would be cool. Like if Michael B. Jordan just showed up in the spirit realm just to mess with
I feel like
T'Challa.
this is all just Reddit
just
fans.
kind of hearsay.
I mean, I'm happy about the Nova rumor, but I also think that a Nova pop being released while so many people are speculating about a Nova movie while his origin story was set up in Infinity War is not a coincidence. But, I mean, it's all just kind of things that you and I could say and someone said. Like, it's speculation that became a story.
Yeah,
It became
basically.
like a claim story.
My point about all this was there anything in here like that especially excited you that you really hoped?
I'd
was
be
kind of
really
real?
disappointed. Can I say?
Yeah.
I'd be disappointed if the Fantastic Four is set in the 1960s.
Oh,
I'm kind of tired of the MCU being in the past. It hasn't happened very often.
I
but
think there's some cool elements to it. I mean, I think Captain America was a great example of something that could work as a
I mean,
set
look,
piece.
it could work, and I think Peyton Reed's a great director. So if it is true, Peyton Reed is directing Fantastic Four in the 60s. Cool. I'm gonna watch the movie, obviously. But
The only
it could be
thing
it could be fun in a Jack Kirby kind of throwback.
I think it could be
Can't be
fun,
right.
but the problem with it is it's almost the problem that I have with Captain Marvel is so much stuff gets retconned. It's like you would think that 20-something movies in that somebody might have mentioned the Fantastic Four at that point.
Yep.
And that's where it gets kind of weird that like why would if this all happened in the 60s, why did nobody ever bring them up, So that's the only real issue that I would have with that.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is they disappeared and then they reappear.
but nobody knew about them. Fantastic Four are celebrities.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you do this because Marvel's starting to get crazy with this. Like, yeah, I don't know how you can.
But
keep
in the
playing these
60s is
timelines.
one of those times where we haven't explored yet.
Yeah.
In the MCU, so I'm sure if it turned out to be true, I wouldn't be shocked. But because they like to do that. I mean, I thought Captain Marvel did not capitalize on exploring 90s
No,
tones and themes,
not even a little.
unless it was in the form of really on-the-nose music.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they could have explored the 90s. They could have had.
I think the only thing that
Or
felt to me
95.
very 90s was the LA chase scene. Like, that was about it.
Yeah. Because of the look of the cars and
Yeah.
and the clothing.
And actual, like, and just a physical, it reminded me of 90s movies of
Yeah.
chase.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but some of it also felt forced too. Like when the little girl brings up like, "But who's gonna watch Fresh Prince with me?" You know, I was like, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of,
Yeah.
don't you remember this was
It was
Right,
like
right, right.
key word, key prop, key thing.
Blockbuster.
Yeah,
Like,
like whereas Guardians of the Galaxy really capitalized on an 80s feel organically. Like it was a tone of the film was
Yeah.
the 80s. The 80s was a character in the Guardians of the Galaxy, the first movie, and Captain Marvel didn't do that. But it was cool to see some of the stuff. I wanted to see like a Tamagotchi or something, but I didn't. But I think the 60s could be a character in itself. The 40s were a character in Captain America. Things like that.
Oh, yeah.
The 2008 was a character. Real world issues were a character in Iron Man.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember when Daredevil was initially coming out on Netflix, and there were rumors that was going to be set in like a gritty 1970s sort of vibe, which I thought was a really cool idea. I think Daredevil is a character that you could probably get away with something like that as well, because like if you set it in the 1970s and he's a little more secretive, then maybe people hadn't heard of him. You
Or
know,
just be an urban
he's
legend.
exactly he's an urban legend that nobody really mentions a lot. But Fantastic Four I see as being a little tougher to pull off because, like you said, they're celebrities of their time.
I think that a lot of that stuff is bullshit.
just bunk.
Is lies.
It's bullshit.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's as much as I can say on this
We don't-
podcast.
we don't
I
honor
think
it.
the majority of that's crap. I don't think it's true.
Yeah.
I think the Roger Wardell, what he actually said, is probably true because he was right in the past. Whoever this guy is.
Yeah. So
Damn you, Roger.
careful of those scoops out there, kids. They're not all real. Although there is one in here that I thought is also a recurring one. You guys think Norman Osborn is showing up in Far From Home?
Yeah.
Oh man, I part of me.
Listen, learning that from a tweet pissed me off. The thirst for Twitter clout is so real. A spoiler is not a scoop.
Yeah.
And if you post that stuff on Twitter to try to gain RTs, you're a loser.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't like that was put out there.
No, why would you put that out
No.
there? Because you heard a plot point from a film? That's
You're
lame.
making me feel really good I brought this up now. Really good I brought this up.
No. Well, no, it's
I
not
know,
your
I'm just
no,
joking.
No,
I'm just
you
joking.
should. It's out there. People
Yeah,
listening
people
to this
don't,
probably
yeah.
know. And also, if you're casting Norman Osborn, that's one thing. If you say so and so actor cast as Norman Osborn, that's a scoop.
Yeah.
That's great. But if you're telling me a plot point in the film,
A secret character.
a secret character in the
Yeah.
film, without an actor, that's not a scoop. That's just a spoiler, and you're a loser.
All right. You heard it from Mr. Brandon Davis right there.
It's not even a hot take. That's a fair take.
All right. Yeah, no, I'm not arguing with you, man.
Don't spoil movies.
Don't spoil movies. All right, so stay tuned because when we come back, we are going to jump into the last installment of the X-Men movie franchise and break down all things Dark Phoenix. Okay, so Dark Phoenix, Brandon
We're gonna
Davis.
spoil a movie.
Yeah, Brandon Davis. We're going to go in, but we are seriously going to go in full spoilers discussion. X-Men started in the 2000. I remember being out there the first day. I remember when it came out, the day it came out. Like, this was such a huge deal to me because I was in college at the time working on kind of thesis based on what I had to do for my degree about comic books as possible pop culture media franchises. And so when X-Men came out, that was a big deal for
Oh,
me.
yeah, same.
So
I was
grabbed
in college and he was in diapers, but it was
I was sitting next to my mom in the movies. I was like 10.
But I love those
I
days,
still
too.
remember seeing Wolverine on screen for the first time. It was just so I was like, "Oh, this is the coolest
Yeah,
thing."
and I remember grabbing the Philadelphia Inquirer and just looking so so scared about how many stars it would get,
Yeah.
what the reception would be, like because we didn't do like this whole film Twitter thing didn't exist back then, so
Right.
you actually had to listen to your local newspaper guy or magazine guy who you read.
I remember not even knowing that it was coming out. I went to the theater just to go see something and seeing the poster for it, and I had
There's
no idea they were
something you don't even do anymore.
that never happens anymore.
Yeah,
but I went
show
to
up
the
at the
theater
movies.
and was like, "Oh, there's an X-Men movie," and I just freaking flipped out and was like, "That yes."
Oh no, I knew because I spent I think it was back then it was like a week to download a trailer,
Mm-hmm.
and I put in the time to download that trailer so that I could watch it over and over.
See, I was studying in
Until
college.
this day,
so-
I still don't get that one shot of how Wolverine
Yeah, right.
kind of spins around the Statue of Liberty's point with his claws. claws while he's fighting Sabretooth.
But it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
In the year 2000, we never got
Year
superheroes like this.
2000.
Superhero movies were not this good back then.
No.
So that was just, who cares?
No, but like, yeah, it was a game changer. Like
Yeah.
when I saw it, and strangely enough, I mean, I just remember loving the first half of X-Men so much.
Right.
Just like all the character stuff with Rogue and Wolverine and all that stuff.
Well, if you've seen Ghostbusters 2, also, that's not the worst thing that we've seen with the Statue of Liberty. So
Oh. Oh, but I love Ghostbusters too. Come on,
I do too.
Slime under New York.
Ghostbusters 2 and Batman were literally
And
the
that dude
first
with the
movies
light
I
up
ever
eyes
saw.
still freaked me out all the time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, when you're just in that unnecessary scene of
Anyway,
just, like,
we're getting off on
yeah,
sidetrack.
I know. We're on Ghostbusters.
Back to
2.
Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, back to Dark Phoenix. So here we are,
What a film.
19 years later,
Remarkable.
and we're finishing up the X-Men franchise. And for me, in kind of lackluster fashion, but I'm gonna let Brandon Davis take this away because he did our review for us, and yeah,
I like to preface this by saying I like Simon Kinberg.
yeah, so do I.
I think he really tried.
Yeah.
And I think his original ending would have made the movie much better. And people are going to talk about the original ending on Monday. I know that there were interviews that have revealed the original ending, and I was more interested in that. But the movie we got just was a very bland movie. That's the only way to describe it. I don't think it was a bad movie. I just don't think it was a good movie. I never felt anything. I never really cared.
No,
I
like,
was just
that's a
kind of
weird
like,
thing.
yeah, I was just kind of like, all right, this thing's happening. Now this thing's happening. Now this thing's happening. What's the runtime here? Because I don't really care. And I thought Michael Fassbender kind of seemed like the only cast member who tried.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Everyone else really
was
nailed
awesome.
it in.
I can't think of a time that I've seen an actor or actress look any more like I'm contractually obligated to do this than Jennifer Lawrence looked in that movie.
Ben
Oh, yeah.
Affleck during the reshoots of Justice League.
Yes, that's a good call. Yeah.
But yeah, Jennifer Lawrence didn't care.
No,
I,
she-
honestly, like, and it's,
and I can imagine a hissy fit she threw to be like, kill me in the first like
yeah, she was
30
yeah.
minutes. I'm out.
the very
I-
definition of phoning it in.
Yeah,
I didn't, and I might get crap for this, but I understand the social awareness aspect that movies have to have now, but the line like, might as well call them the X-Women was just a lack of social awareness and forced. To me, it was.
Oh, that was
cringy.
super
It was
I thought
so
the same
cringy.
thing. I thought the same thing last night, and I laughed out loud when she said it. And my girlfriend looked at me and was like, "Oh yeah, is that right?" Yeah, and I was
Well,
like,
that's,
"Never
I mean,
mind.
I don't know. Maybe I'm on
I'm
the
not gonna
opposite
get
side
on
there, but
this.
I just thought like that's not it. Like whereas Captain Marvel really did make women feel empowered
Or
by
Wonder
seeing her
Woman.
on screen, or
yeah,
Wonder
Wonder
Woman.
Woman's still the best by
Yeah,
far.
Wonder Woman did it the best. Wonder Woman, sure. But anyway,
The only thing that I thought at that moment, though, because I was like, "Oh, that is so on the nose." Like,
yeah,
but then-
that's my point.
But then I
is that-
started laughing because I thought about it, and I thought about all the rest of the movies, and I was like, yeah, kind of. I was like, Mystique saves the day in Days of Future
Days of Future
Past.
Past.
Jean saves the day in Apocalypse. Moira kind of saves the day in First Class.
I'm not saying
Like,
the line is not
yeah,
without
there's like a lot of that
merit.
truth to that statement.
without merit,
Yeah.
but it just the way they deliver. Like other writers, other writers
It
would
was
have made it work.
like there were a lot of bad dialogue.
My least favorite, dude. This is when the movie I think I realized like, all right, they're kind of just phoning everything in. Is when the scene where Jean Grey is looking like an old man at the bar, making other people perceive her as an old man at the bar, and Jessica Chastain, who I didn't even know her character's name until I looked it up after the movie, sat down and Jean Grey goes, "How did you find me?" And Jessica Chastain's character goes, "Let's just say I have friends in high places." And I was like, is this like a 90s Jean-Claude Van Damme film? Like, where does this dialogue come from? But I think it suffered from reshoots. I think there was a lot of I think they were originally Skrulls. There's no doubt those aliens were Skrulls at first.
Yeah.
They probably looked entirely different as aliens. You probably saw them as aliens more, and the ending would have been more meaningful had they gotten to the ending they actually wanted for the movie.
Yeah, and like I'm with you on that. Like, it was just like, here are generic aliens 1 through 13.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
and
everything
it
was
just-
generic. I do want to
It didn't even
compliment.
show you like when she first takes on Jessica Chastain's form. Like, what happens? What's the weird thing she keeps doing to everybody's belly? Like,
It's just an Adobe Premiere effect swirl.
yeah, and it's
The
just
swirl
like she
effect.
like swirls people's bellies and like,
Yeah.
what the hell is going on with that? The whole alien storyline was so like just bad and just tacked.
It really was an amalgamation of so many movies that came before it, though.
Yeah.
Like it was like Shazam, opening car crash scene. Shazam, meeting your parent who doesn't want you anymore.
Not only that, but it was
Captain
also
Marvel would have already stole their ending.
the same with X-Men movies, though. I mean, how many times are we going to see, like, Professor X and Magneto, like, Magneto goes away to some foreign land to try to become a better person, and then he gets dragged back in, and at first he's a bad guy, and then he helps them again.
Well,
I mean,
that's
how
the
many
problem.
times are
I
we
think
gonna cycle through
I
that
think that's the
storyline?
problem with the X-Men franchise now. It's gone stale. It's not innovating. It's spinning wheels. And the wheels they made really good movies before, so those wheels are entertaining enough for us to go and be like, all right, I'm not mad I spent $15 on a ticket. I just wouldn't tell my friends, hey, you should see this movie. If you're an X-Men fan, sure, go see it by all means.
Yeah, if you want to
Because
finish up the franchise.
There's a few things worth pointing out that were good.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Michael Fassbender, we said he's great, but he had some really cool action sequences.
Yeah, the action sequences with Magneto and even like the train, which was kind of Deadpool-ish and still.
But it worked. The Nightcrawler stuff there was great.
Nightcrawler
Nightcrawler
stuff,
put
yep.
his tail through a dude's neck.
And when he
it was
warps the
great.
dude in front of the train and then like
Yeah. Oh yeah,
out.
he disappears,
Yeah.
puts that chick in front of the train, or the dude in front of the train, gets back on the train. That was awesome. It was clever. How did he do that, by the way? Because could he see that?
I don't know. I didn't ask too many
But
questions
anyway,
at that point. Because that whole sequence is messed up because the amount of changes between how many enemies are left is I would love to go back and watch that again.
Well, you got to consider the
there's like
fact
train's empty, train's full again, train's empty.
It was
train's
like
full
Insurgent.
again. Like,
when Professor X and Magneto and Beast and Mystique all go in a 30-year time span and they don't look any different, but then in 8 years they're going to look like Ian McKellen, you gotta let some stuff go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, I like the Hans Zimmer score was great. Hans Zimmer
Yeah,
score,
the
on it
score was
really
fantastic.
good.
Yeah.
I think something else the movie suffered from, though, is that even Apocalypse, which is not a great X-Men movie, right? But it still had some really cool mutants that we hadn't seen on screen before. We had Psylocke, we had Archangel, there was Apocalypse himself. There were some cool mutants we saw, and then in this, speaking on the blandness of the whole movie, we get like a guy who twirls his dreadlocks.
Oh my god!
You know what I mean?
When I figured out that dude's mutant power, I was like, "What?"
Right. So it was so
I was
underwhelming.
like,
Like,
if
if you're at least
gonna
gonna
go at it like a chick with a New York bus like
if you're
that.
gonna
before.
go
This is
out,
not,
how are
like,
we not
mutant
gonna have
power.
any new mutants?
It
that we haven't
also,
seen
like,
on
it just
screen
felt
before?
cheap at times because there's a fight scene that's supposed to be on the streets of New York, but it was so clearly the streets of London. This movie was shot in London. It was so transparently London to the point where they had a red double-decker
That's about to say. I was like, "Oh man, this is totally New York. Look at that red double-decker bus."
Like it looked. The buildings themselves looked like London. And
Yeah.
if you haven't been to London, I mean, you've been to London.
Yeah.
You know what London looks
Yeah.
like. You've seen pictures of London at least.
it looks like old England.
Old England, historic buildings on the streets of London. New York does not look like that.
No.
And they
If
tried.
it was New York, people would have been out of their cars with bats and pipes and stuff.
Yeah, Cyclops would have gone to
Stop
shoot
the
his damn
traffic.
rays, and he would have got a baseball bat to the side of the head from a
Yeah.
taxi driver.
Yeah. get
Homeless
out of there.
person would have tackled him. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah. But yeah, there were
Fassbender's
some
great.
shots that I really did like. Like the space stuff was really kind of visually good.
Sure.
Some of the shots of Jean like taking on the house when Quicksilver's like coming out or that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So there were some good shots. In
Ty
there. It
Sheridan,
wasn't-
I like
the
Ty
train
Sheridan.
sequence was pretty good in terms of like action, except for the generic villain stuff. Like it was good, and just seeing the X-Men use all their and Magneto and him like just cutting people up and like pulling stuff and stabbing it. Like that was really cool. Even Professor Xavier being kind of like a strategist and like saying like do this, move here, like go here, like and kind of leading the team was kind of cool to see for once.
I love the scene where Magneto takes all the guns.
Yeah,
And points it at
that's
Jessica
right.
Chastain
Yeah.
at one point.
Right.
That was a great scene.
Yeah,
great.
just all and like a good callback. To
But he
like, the
also,
first
how did he not shoot himself? Because there were guns behind her pointed at him. And I was like, wait a
Because he
second.
controls all the metal.
Yeah.
Duh. Come on. Again, why are we thinking so much about this?
But I like Ty Sheridan a lot. I'm a big.
I feel like
Ty
he
Sheridan
packed
fan.
on a little muscle for this.
Yeah,
Definitely
he got-
beefed
he's
up a
gotten
little bit.
bigger, man.
I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of Ty
those
Sheridan,
mud
and I don't
days.
think he did a bad job acting. But that F word was so
Oh,
awkward.
yeah.
Oh
that
yeah,
was
he dropped.
weird.
I was just like, wait, what's this movie rated? I was
That-
like,
It's PG-13.
And it's one thing when like Logan comes in to cameo and drops an F bomb. It's a whole other thing when it comes from Cyclops.
Because it never fit that character before.
Right. Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Logan, you could see it fitting his dialogue.
Yeah. And one thing I will say I'm disappointed with is this movie kind of does a fast, loose shuffle with characters, right? Like, you think you have this whole X-Men team, but then they start shuffling off characters really quickly. Like, Mystique gets killed. Quicksilver gets quote-unquote injured. And is like not... Evan Peters was like, look, I got 2 days. I'm going to shoot for 2 days. Like,
What a bummer too, because one of the best things about Days of Future Past and Apocalypse is both like Quicksilver's little you know.
Well, they gave him 2 half scenes.
Yeah, and it was.
Yeah, the space shuttle thing, he throws people a little quickly and then gets out of there and then like,
Runs it, Dark
runs
Phoenix.
But not for comedic effect. So.
And just like literally going like in the third act of the movie, Professor X being like, all right, I'm gonna go do this third act fight, but I'm not bringing anybody with me. We're gonna scale this thing down.
Yeah.
And Storm having to be like, look, I need some screen time. I'm coming with you. We're doing this. Like, stop trying to leave me
So
out.
you're ready to say goodbye to all of these cast members and reboot them for the MCU?
I mean,
I don't think it was the cast's fault.
yeah, and that's the
no, I
thing.
agree.
Like, I'm kind of frustrated on that front because I'm ready to do away with the older X-Men. Like, that whole thing. Like, the ones we grew up with, like, you know, Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart, all of them. But I felt like these guys have finally, like, really grown into this, like, with this film, which is kind of the irony here. Like, I like Cody Smith McPhee as Nightcrawler now. I really like
Yeah.
Magneto more than ever after this movie. Like, I would love to see more Fassbender as Magneto. I even like James McAvoy more as Xavier because he has a more complicated role in this. Where I like those Xavier stories from the comics where he's not just a shining good guy, and people start to question him and being like, "Charles, you do some shady stuff." And like, I like that stuff. I liked Sophie Turner as Jean Grey. I liked Ty Sheraton as Cyclops, and I thought that was one of the better Jean Cyclops kind of relationships we've had in the movies. I could actually believe that they were in love and like a good couple in this. And so
I
I don't know
thought
if
that.
Sophie and Ty had great chemistry.
I thought that aspect was a little underwhelming. Yeah, I definitely liked the previous incarnation of Cyclops and Jean Grey better.
I think it was better
I
than
get
James
from-
Marsden and
Maybe I'm
Famke
just biased.
Janssen,
I
though.
feel like in
'Cause
watching-
where she's towering over him, being like Scott, and he's just like,
Well, yeah, but you
Gee.
also had the aspect of Wolverine being in the picture,
and that was
which I
always
thought
the
made it
that
a
was
little
always
bit more
the,
of a complicated
the hype
love
thing was
triangle.
like,
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman,
Yeah.
and the Jean thing was always the best.
Right.
Like, yeah.
But it is in the comics too.
Yeah,
you know?
and yeah, exactly. And of course, they had to leave that out of this one because
Right.
that would have been super creepy.
yeah.
Like,
if Hugh Jackman was there.
yeah.
Hey, Gene, you looking pretty good these days.
Although I don't know if it would have been
I don't
creepier.
age.
I don't know. I don't know if it would have been any creepier than like because I remember being kind of unsettled when
I mean, if you think about Wolverine,
Jennifer Lawrence was in Michael Fassbender's bed in like First Class.
Yeah.
And like I was like, oh, that's kind of that's a little creepy because
yeah, but
she's a little young.
even when Wolverine likes the original Jean Grey, I mean, he's like 100, so it's still kind of creepy. Yeah?
Good for
No?
Wolverine.
No? No, it's just me?
Oh man, so like
Doesn't age.
yeah, I mean Logan was kind of a missing presence from this movie. I mean,
Yeah, I think.
I would have appreciated like one last cameo from him, but Hugh Jackman.
No,
He's
no,
all right.
that would have been an asterisk on his legacy.
You think so?
He got a great send off. Let it go.
Yeah, I do agree with you, but I also think Wolverine Origins is the biggest asterisk on his legacy he's ever going to have. So,
I don't remember it.
oh, I do.
I do. So
Overall, not a horrible film, just not a particularly good
no,
movie.
I
And it's
don't.
the
I don't
ending.
think that it's like a 24% on Rotten Tomatoes, right? It's like 20 points lower than
It's
Wolverine.
better
Origins.
than that.
It's yeah, I agree. This needs to be in like the 50s or 60s. Like,
Yeah.
that's where it deserves
Yeah,
to be.
I'd say I put it in the 50s.
That's where I was at with my review. I gave it a 3 out of 5 because I feel like a 2 out of 5 indicates something different, which would be just a really, really bad, pretty awful film. And a 3 out of 5 is like, all right, it's not terrible, but it seems much more flattering. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
we don't.
I mean,
do
there was
half
some good
stars
production
at
work put into this,
Comicbook.com.
some good visuals. Like, I mean, there was not, like, yeah.
I think just like Apocalypse, if you're an X-Men fan, there's going to be stuff in the movie that you can cherry pick out and enjoy. So,
And I like this one because my big thing about Apocalypse was I felt like Apocalypse was too much of a soundstage movie. It felt hollow, especially in a third act battle. This was a little bit more vibrant and lively with the set.
with the exception of the New York street scene.
I mean, it was still a street. It was just a real street. It was just the wrong real street. But like, yeah.
On the other side of the ocean.
Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, I feel so bad for Jessica Chastain, who's like a really talented.
She's so
actress.
talented, and her role sucked.
Yeah, and having to go out there and smile and market this movie must be painful. Like
It
after
looks like
what,
it.
and I'm sure
when I interviewed
she
that-
got in for a much different performance.
You look at the interview that I did with Sophie Turner and Jessica Chastain, and they outright say several times in the film, "We didn't prep for this movie." Like they say it three times in one interview in 4 minutes, and I'm like, why would you say that? I don't get it. But they're just having fun with it. I think they're like aware of this movie. They know it's just going to be what it's going to be. Let's just do our job and smile and wave.
Yeah, and
I feel bad for Jessica Chastain, like you said.
Yeah,
she's
and
a better actress than this movie.
I mean, she'll get it back come It Chapter 2.
Yeah, she's not. I mean, this isn't going to hurt her career.
Yeah.
This movie's going to go
No.
quietly into the night. It's going to be the end of the X-Men franchise, and that it'll just come and go.
yeah, it was just that the
couple
fact that
years we
she's so
won't be talking
talented,
about
like all the places she could have ended up in a comic book movie, it's like you ended up in this.
I asked her
Yeah.
also, would you do another comic book movie? She said, maybe not for like 10 more years. So, if
Wow.
that tells you
Well,
anything.
that's not telling, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, you guys have any closing thoughts? Are we just gonna say goodbye to the X-Men?
I said enough.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing what Marvel does now. that they've
Yeah.
got a hold
Right.
of
Like,
it.
let's talk about the happy stuff.
Yeah.
Now, what are some things that we can
Start
learn
throwing out
from this
some-
franchise that the Marvel Cinematic Universe can hopefully correct?
Don't do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, let's go beyond Magneto, Professor X, and please don't try to throw Mystique back in here. I mean, I would like to see Mystique used as real.
No
Mystique.
black leather. That's what I'd like.
Yeah, no black leather. Real. I would like to see the real.
I want to see
costumes.
real
I want to see that Wolverine
I want to
costume
see Wolverine dressed
from the
in suit.
Wolverine. Yeah, like not maybe that exact one, but that concept.
Were you yellow and blue or brown and blue?
I like.
Or not brown and blue. Brown.
I mean, I
yellow.
came in at brown and yellow, so
Yeah.
like I want that.
I came in at brown and yellow, but I also really love the blue and yellow from the animated series. So
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah, I mean
it's a classic.
either or.
So, will they do a Wolverine origin story set in like the 20s or 30s?
They can. They could. I mean,
but then how has he been there the whole time?
Wolverine, I think, is another character. He's not a
But then
celebrity
the
like
mutant
Fantastic
gene.
Four.
But then the mutant gene is.
Yeah, it depends on how they handle the mutant gene for sure. But there could be an
I would like
instance
to-
where there are some mutants that haven't
I would
been
like them to
discovered
go
yet.
back to the to the real classic Wolverine first appearance, like him jumping the Hulk, like and being like, who is
That's
this
what
person?
I
Somebody
mentioned
who's
that
like
to somebody too.
like a special agent of the Canadian government sent after the Hulk, and comes at him. Like I would love to see that.
I mean, that'd be cool. But will Mark Ruffalo be around long enough for Wolverine to debut in the MCU? I mean, he'll be alive, yes, but like, will he be the Hulk?
Hey, we make holograms. We can make a CGI Mark Ruffalo, whether he participates or not. Like, yeah,
Fair point.
Yeah.
yeah. So he'll be there. But yeah, I mean, who knows what will happen with Hulk by then? But Hulk's one of those characters. Like, yeah,
Well, and also because
Apparently,
of
anybody can play him.
the CGI, also, I mean, Mark Ruffalo could play him for another 20, 30 years.
Or you could just recast the guy. Has that ever happened?
I
don't
can't
remember.
remember one instance where I think Hulk's been recast.
yeah. No,
No.
the one Hulk we've had is the one Hulk we've always had, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah. So I mean, I think we're just all hoping to see kind of something closer to the comic book X-Men that we know and love. Some more storylines that are bigger than just the same Professor X, Magneto, somebody in the middle.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I
thing.
also think that if you introduce Wolverine in the way that he was introduced in the comics, it gives some credence to bring Wolverine, the most popular character, into the MCU well before you even have to introduce the X-Men.
Yeah, because I mean, to be fair, Wolverine didn't just come in
Right.
with the X-Men. Like,
Right.
He was his own.
I don't
thing.
think they're going to rely on any of the popularity from previous X-Men movies or status.
Oh, I mean, I disagree in the sense. I mean, they've got real money with doing Wolverine again.
Doesn't, dude, they made Ant-Man a success.
Oh, I know. I'm not saying that, but that was out of necessity almost. I mean, they had to take those B characters, and they did a great job.
Yeah.
Now they've got Spider-Man. Now they've got Wolverine, and I think you're gonna really see Wolverine get pushed.
I don't think so.
You don't think?
I'd be surprised if Wolverine is the leader of the X-Men charge.
I'm not saying that's kind of what we're
No,
talking
yeah,
about.
we're talking
is
about
that
something
He
different,
doesn't
like-
even have to be in the
Yeah,
X-Men
in the
to
comics,
be
he didn't start
introduced.
out in the X-Men. He was
Oh no, I
Department
know,
H.
but
yeah.
I'm saying I would be surprised if the X-Men charge in the MCU, like whatever, like just the marketing front. I mean, not the characters within the narrative. I'm just saying, when the X-Men are brought into the MCU, I'd be surprised if Wolverine is at the front of that ad. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to see Scott Summers.
I
Start
think
to be
in,
much more
what I'm
important.
saying, I think Wolverine will be his own ad.
Mm.
Like I don't know if he'll be the front of the X-Men, but he will definitely be his own.
He could, but I
mean,
think we'll see other characters become more popular.
Even with
Oh, I
Wolverine,
agree with you.
I think that
Bishop
you could cover.
will finally matter.
Yeah, I mean that would be cool. I mean,
Cyclops would be
where
a
we
major
are in the
player.
MCU, somebody like Cable, Bishop, somebody sliding through time, stuff like that would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope we do that, and I hope we could build up to something like an Age of Apocalypse, like or something cool like that within 10, 12 years, and just have something like that version of an MCU.
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
crazy.
I think
I'll be
that's.
so old.
I also think that that's probably the saddest thing about Dark.
You'll be as
Phoenix.
old as I am right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just because Last Stand ruined it and Dark Phoenix didn't nail it, and
Don't
so
do a Dark Phoenix again.
we're not.
No,
unfortunately, I
please.
don't think we're going to see. Which is sad
I would be
because
happy
it's one
to
of
see
my
an
favorite
Avengers
comic
versus
storylines.
X-Men with a better ending than the Avengers vs. X-Men comics involving the Phoenix Force. That could be interesting. That
Yeah.
could be interesting.
I can see something with Rachel Summers or Hope Summers and that version of Phoenix and stuff like that. But
Madeline Pryor.
yeah, like we've already struck out on Dark Phoenix twice, which is the biggest head scratcher for me about this whole thing.
Because it's so great in the comics. It's,
Yeah,
it's
and we've
such a
tried to
great
do it
storyline.
twice in movies, and we've struck out twice. Not only have we struck out twice, but the films nearly fell apart twice.
The early '90s
Yeah.
animated series did it better than both
Exactly.
movies did.
That
Yeah.
that was like the best week of my life.
Yeah.
That 5-part Dark Phoenix
Oh my
saga.
God.
It's really good.
I was in front of that TV every afternoon. Like, oh man.
TV. I just bought this.
That
animated
was
series
so
on my
good.
Xbox.
So I guess the end of this show, we should probably say,
That's all.
go get the classic '90s X-Men animated series and watch the 5-part Dark Phoenix saga there because it's pretty good. All right, that'll do it for us on this episode of Comic Book Nation. If you guys are just jumping in for this review and you haven't really listened to the show, we launch new episodes every Wednesday and Friday on Comicbook.com, where you can sign up to our RSS feed to subscribe to the show, or you can subscribe on your favorite listening platforms. We are on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Playlists, Google Podcasts, or you can tell any Amazon Alexa device, play Comic Book Nation podcast, and it will fire right up for you. If you have anything to add to the conversation, you can always find us on social media at the hashtag Comic Book Nation, or you can hit us up individually. You can find me at Kofi Outlaw.
At Chris Killian.
I'm at Brandon Davis BD.
If you guys want to leave us a 5-star review, we will be getting back to reading some reviews real soon. So make sure you leave us a 5-star review, because if we read your review on the air, we will send you some Comic Book Nation swag. And some of our fans, top fans out there, have been loving it and representing for us. So we're going to try to keep that train going. That'll do it for us this time. We hope to see you guys on next episode. This is Comic Book Nation. We're out.